Hello guys, this is Don's Movies, and today I got something completely different from your average videos, because normally I wouldn't do a video like this, but I really felt like I had to make a video. And just to make everything clear at start, I received a copy of the game from the developers, but it's not like a part of a paid promotion, like a program. I actually contacted them myself because I thought the game was so amazing. So just so you know, all of the opinions are my own. They never paid me to say anything, and all of the experiences are my own. And I want to give you like my honest thoughts on the game, and that is mainly one of the reasons why I haven't really been that active on the channel in the past week or so, and why I haven't streamed in a bit. Also, there's some internet issues, but I've been so busy playing this game, and I can honestly say it is the top 3 games of all time that I have ever played. Of course, the Warcraft series is still like my #1 game, but at this point I'm just like so familiar with the world of Warcraft and just the entire Warcraft universe, because I've read the books, I know most of the lore and the story, I played so much of the game. I mean, I still really enjoy it, it's not like a bad thing, but I'm just like so familiar with the entire world. But with this game like Witcher, it's just so like new and amazing, and I'm constantly like trying to read the lore of the characters, and I do all these different side quests and everything like that just to learn more about the game. It's sort of like when you get into World of Warcraft and you're kind of a noob, it's like the best feeling, because there's just this gigantic world and you gotta learn all this stuff. And that is mainly why I wanted to make a video about this game. Now, I won't do like a professional review of the game with like grades and everything, because you can already find so many different reviews of the game. But instead, I just wanted to give you my own personal, like, honest thoughts on the game and some pros and cons with the game and how I really feel about it. Now, I've played role-playing games for quite a long time. I mean, even World of Warcraft in a sense is a role-playing game. And I've also played Oblivion, Skyrim, Dragon Age, Fallout, Metro, and Far Cry, if you can even call those like RPG games. Like, there are many FPS games, but they're still quite story driven, so I guess they're also RPG games. But out of all of those, like, I can honestly say that The Witcher is by far my favorite. Now, it is a bit weird for me to say that, because I'm kinda going over the Elder Scrolls, because I played the Elder Scrolls for so long, like since Oblivion. I even played a bit of Morrowind, and I passed it like 3 or 4 times, like both Oblivion and Skyrim. But I honestly don't really remember like the last time I enjoyed like a role-playing game as I did with Witcher, and that is why I want to give you like the different features that are in the game and just give you my thoughts on it. If you're really into like stories and books and like the lore or just any games, I really think you should try out the world of Witcher, because you don't really need to like play Witcher 1 or 2 to get into the story, because a lot of the story is already like self-explanatory, or it gets explained through the quest lines. They just kinda mention it. So if you never played the Witcher series, you can just get into Witcher 3, because it's really great. And the game itself is story-driven, open-world role-playing game featuring the story of Geralt, the Witcher. And in this game, the Witchers are essentially like superhumans in a way, because they have undergone these mutations to get better like strength, speed, reflexes. They also have like amazing senses. They can hear and see like way better than your like average human. So they can pretty much fight any monster, and they're much better fighters than your like average soldier, because the average soldier wouldn't be able to defeat a monster such as a giant or like a griffin or whatever. I've personally got into the game mainly because I was already kinda into the Witcher series. I mean, I played Witcher 2, and I really wanted to play like a good single player game. Since I really haven't done that in a while, I really wanted to try out like an RPG, because I really like RPG games, but I don't really have that much time to play them. And at first, I kinda liked the game, but I wasn't like super impressed. I didn't think this is like the best game ever. Like, I was intrigued, but it wasn't like the best RPG, because the starting areas in the world aren't really that intense, because you have these weird swamps with monsters on every corner, and just like these dead people and people like hanging from the tree. It's really like a weird and a depressing atmosphere, and not really something like you wanna feel when you're trying to like relax and play a game. But later on, I can promise you that things get much better, as the writers for this game did such an amazing job with the story, because it's so intense and you can like really bond with the characters, and you like feel like you're a part of the universe itself. Now, of course, the entire Witcher story is actually a book series, and the games aren't like fully canon, but still, like the way they added the story together with the gameplay elements just made the game like so immersive and just so enjoyable to play. Now, the game, even though it is quite story driven, it is actually an open world game, and the world, even though at the first glance it kind of appears like small, it turns out to actually be gigantic once you get into the game, because even those like small like Skellige Islands, I thought they were small at first when I looked at the map, but once you get there you realize just how big they are, and you can like take a boat and go between the different isles. There's even like a quest, like an entire quest line where you gotta hunt down a giant on the isles. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was really interesting for me because there's just all these different elements to the story and like all these different side quests. And the side quests are like a game on its own pretty much, because they are like fully voice acted with so many different camera angles and options, and they honestly don't even feel like side quests, because when I started playing the game, until I figured out you can like go to the menu and like track quests, I didn't even notice I was playing the side quests instead of the main quests, because they're so like well done, and you can just see how much effort went into making all these quests, like voice acting every line and all of that. As with most like RPG games, you have choices that affect your game, but in this one it is quite drastical because there's so many ways the game can end, and it can all depend on like how you treat the people around you. And it's not like even just being good to everyone or evil, because sometimes you have to do both to get a good ending, because the world itself is not like black and white. There isn't just like evil and good, and sometimes doing like a bad thing to someone is actually a good thing to someone else, which is really awesome. It kind of like simulates the real world, because the real world is like not fair. It's not like black and white where you just have like evil and good. Apart from the story, the game mechanics are also really well done, such as the combat, because at first I was playing Witcher 2 before, it felt a bit simplified, but with all the different talent trees and the signs you can use and like heavy and quick attacks and the different creatures, you really feel like you're fighting those creatures, because in most like role-playing games, like when you're fighting different creatures, it doesn't really feel like it just feels like you're fighting the same foe, just like bigger or smaller. While in this game, for example, when you're fighting a giant, it can be really intense when he like starts chasing you and like charging at you, or when you're like fighting like golem sentries and they just like stun everyone, or even when you're fighting like a griffin or like a harpy who can like fly in and out and just like hit you, so you have to like use a range attack. So with all the different creatures, you honestly feel like the combat is different with like almost every creature you fight. It's not like the feeling when you see like a new creature, you're like, oh, just it's like another creature. You honestly feel like they have a character of their own, and they have like their abilities and weaknesses and strengths. Now, I have already praised the game way too much. Of course, the game is not like fully perfect. I don't even think there is a game out there that is like fully perfect, especially if it's an open world game, because you always face glitches and different like errors. Specifically in Witcher, there are some bugs, especially with your horse when you're like calling him and he spawns in like weird places, or when you're like mounted on a horse and like riding, you hit into objects, and while running it can also be a bit weird to like coordinate, but it's really not like game breaking, you can still manage, it only can be annoying at some occasions. Now, there is also some issues with the models floating around. It actually happened to me a bit. Like, there was a guy in the Skellige Islands, he was just like floating at the top of like the floor. I thought he was like 3 meters tall, instead he was just like your average height. He was just like elevated from the ground. I don't know what happened with that. I've seen worse errors, but I personally didn't like experience any like game breaking errors or anything like super crazy. And also, one of the things I really wanted to talk about that has bothered me a bit, and it isn't like a bug, it isn't like an error, it just like kind of breaks the immersion, and that is like the lack of human faces, because you can see the same faces on the NPCs, and for me it kind of breaks the immersion. I don't know, like, I know CD Projekt Red isn't like the biggest company ever, they even had a super small budget for the scale of the game they were working on, but you can see that they cut corners on some things, like on the faces. Now, of course, I mean, it wouldn't be an issue, like if you're talking about the people that are walking through the city, of course they can't model like a million different people, but like there is a problem with different quest givers, because some quest givers have the exactly same faces, and it kind of like gives you the feel like you already know these people, and then they look exactly the same, so it's a bit weird, but it isn't like a game-breaking problem, and I don't really think it's it's that much of a problem, because the same thing is in Skyrim as in other role-playing games. But it did get a bit annoying for me, but it really wasn't anything crazy. Now the good thing though is that CD Projekt Red is a responsible company that they fixed most of the game-breaking bugs, and some of these bugs I mentioned before, which is really great of them because they give quite good support, and you can't really say that about other games, especially games like Assassin's Creed, where it took them like a few months to fix the graphics because it was almost completely unplayable. Now, do not make this video longer, it is already quite a bit long. As I said, I don't really want to do like a full review since you can already find a lot of them on the internet. I just want to give you my recommendation on this game, and to be clear, no one told me to say anything, no one paid me to say anything, I would never even do like that. And even if I was, I mean I wouldn't accept that, but I was always say if someone told me to say something. And I honestly wouldn't even be making this video if I didn't personally enjoy the game myself, and I really wanted to share it with you guys because I just finished the main story and I'm gonna play Witcher 2 again, and then after that I'm gonna do another playthrough of Witcher 3, this time going through literally like every side quest I find and like finishing the entire thing. Plus there's gonna be like expansions coming out, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So if you really want to get into like a good like immersive role-playing game, I would definitely recommend this game, but just one tip, don't rush the game. I was kinda rushing it at start because I didn't really want to go crazy into it because, you know, I got videos to work on, I got stuff to work on, so I was just trying to get through the story as fast as I can. But still, there's just so much content there, there's like 200 hours, there's like I believe there's like 60 hours of the main story and there's like 200 hours of the entire game, so you really don't want to rush through it and just play it, like just take your time and just play the game because I can guarantee you're gonna enjoy the game. Alright, that is all I have for this video. Now, don't worry, the World of Warcraft videos are still coming. I got a few lore videos in the works. I got a monk role-playing guide and also some versus videos. So, there is a lot of Warcraft videos to come. And this is just one of the games, together with the Elder Scrolls, that I really enjoy and might even make some videos in the future. Because, as I said before, I can't really just focus on one game if I really want to take Europe seriously, because it's really not that great to be stuck to just one thing and just depending on a one game, especially if that game is like 11 years old. But still, thanks a lot for taking the time out of the day to watch this video, especially you guys that watch this video, and especially you guys that took your time to get to this part of the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, as it really helps with the channel and keeps all the videos going. And see you next time.